Hello again, my dear friends. It's March 2nd right now, and here's my first disposition report for the front lines. Before I start, we'd like to point out very interesting circumstances which happened this morning. For the first time, Ukrainian military defense published more or less plausible information. Beforehand, it was telling the population that the enemy was pushed back almost everywhere. They were saying that in some places the enemy broke through the enemy defense lines, but the West will help us soon. We'll push back the enemy. But because so many residents of Ukraine switched to the real truthful information, including my channel, and now they really understand the situation, they see official reports from the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense, what they see by their own eyes doesn't correspond to each other, not even close. This is the reason why today the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense, for the first time, released more or less a truthful report where it finally admitted its defeats of its forces in Chernigov, Kiev regions, in the south, in the Donbass region, and almost everywhere. While I won't lean on their report, however, I'm including it for the first time as source material for my conclusions. I also really liked that so-called anti-fake, which they are distributing today in Ukrainian social media, which also very clearly shows which cities will soon fall from under control of the Kiev regime. Moreover, as we see, Kherson has already fell down, and all the other cities that are listed here, as I understand it, need to prepare to fall. It is clear that this is not an anti-fake by any means. It's just the Kiev regime preparing its population that it will become a reality very soon. But in reality, it's a complete and total collapse on all fronts. And now, after this introduction, we can go directly into the specifics. Traditionally, I will start with the south. According to the news from Nikolaev this morning, the governor, who, by the way, doesn't panic, let's give him credit for that, he is one of the few governors who, more or less, tries to keep up well and has control over his population, and more or less accurately reflects the situation in his region, but misinterpreting it a bit. But anyways, in this case, he informed that the Russian troops have made a tactical landing in the vicinity of the Nikolaev airport. And this in fact means that the city is in tight encirclement. There's also an information source that Russia is preparing a tactical landing in the vicinity of Voznesensk because the head unit, which approached the city last night, has stopped and waiting for reinforcements. As I understand, today there will be very interesting developments in this area, most likely related to South Ukrainian nuclear power plant, as well as with further advancement of the Russian troops to the west, in order to cut off the Odessa region from the rest of Ukraine. Also, for the first time in my report, I used the data of the Russian Ministry of Defense. Remember, yesterday I was telling that I don't know what the current situation is around Vasilievka. But today, the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation has officially announced that Tokmak and Vasilievka are under their full control, and Ukrainian garrison in these cities did not fight to the bitter end, as official propaganda tells us, but capitulated. That means that Vasilievka front is finally closed. In Mariupol, there is fighting still going on, and I emphasize there's a lot of encircled Ukrainian troops over there. And I think that the combat will continue today and most likely tomorrow. But the most interesting news, again, based on data from the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, came from the Kharkiv region. Remember, for a long time I wondered where the Russian troops have finally reached south of the Kharkiv region, and in general, thanks to the summary of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, the situation looks as follows. The Russian group is now particularly in a hurry to meet with the Zaporozhye group, and taking into account the fact that the Air Force is fully controlling the roads, and respectively, Ukrainian troops in the Donbass area do not even try to leave. They tried it once, were defeated, and they are not trying to escape anymore, and that's why the main strike force is coming east of Kharkiv, in the rear of it, and is trying to encircle Kharkiv, while cutting supply lines in the Krasnograd area. So as of today, we can approximately determine the line of advance of the Russian advance patrols near Krasnograd, Lozovaya, and Izium. However, we are receiving conflicting information from Izium. According to one piece of information, Russian troops already had it circled, or came close to that, but according to Ukrainian sources, they are still getting closer to it. Nevertheless, we can tell that Izium is the proximate front line. That is, here is the disposition. South Kharkiv region came under control of Russian troops. The situation in Kharkiv looks extremely terrifying. There are battles all the time. Mostly military objects were attacked by Russian troops. Tank schools, flight schools, and some other military targets were hit by Russian rockets. But the most important thing is not this. I also looked at what the Russian tactics look like. In general, after they first settled in the northeast, they start raids and do not stop at intersections or streets in order not to get under enemy fire. Mobile squads enter into the different parts of the city, determine and destroy enemy units, and continue a retreat. Such mobile squads operate today throughout the central highway. It's obvious that there is an intent to cut the city into two parts. From the fact that the advancement goes via the southern Kharkiv area, we can assume that the remaining Kharkiv's troops will either be surrounded or will run away through the remaining retreat lines. But they will most likely remain in Kharkiv to the better end. Right now, it seems that nobody will go anywhere. More so under current conditions, when the Russian aviation's complete dominance in the air, it makes no sense. That's clear. Now we are switching to the Kiev region. Here I emphasize that finally, thank God, Ministry of Ukrainian Defense started to give out the reports that are more or less accurate. They agree with what I said the day before. Yes, they pushed back the line of control of Russian troops a little in Chernigov to the east, and in the northeast, also a little further. But even according to these reports, it's clear the east of Kiev is almost completely surrounded. So the Russian troops are piling up and stand on the outskirts of Brovary, and gradually moving towards Borispil. Most likely, neither Brovary nor Borispil won't be captured because it makes no sense, but all the roads will be blocked. And now to the northeast. At present, people who live there say silent here. Today we have a relatively quiet day. Nobody is making any advancements. This is what the situation looks like at the front lines at the moment. That's it for now. My next review is scheduled around 3 or 4, maybe 5 hours, depending on the load. I don't know what it will look like today, but yesterday it was very, very difficult. That's everything for now. See you soon.